Queen Victoria, the monarch who changed the course of history. Even though Queen Victoria was not expected to rule, she took the throne when the reputation of Britain's monarchy was already tarnished. At just 4 feet and 11 inches tall, she brought back British Empire's glory with her towering power and ambitious reforms, and became a symbol of what a queen should be. Let's discover how Queen Victoria's 63-year reign changed the course of history and how she became the woman who shaped modern Britain. A queen in waiting. Alexandrina Victoria was born on 24th May 1819. She was the daughter of Prince Edward, Duke of Kent, and Princess Victoria, a widowed German princess. Victoria was not expected to rule because she was fifth in line to the throne. There were 3 elderly uncles ahead of her in succession. However, the early death of Victoria's father and uncles catapulted her to the throne, and she was presumed to be the next heir after her living uncle William IV, whose rule started in 1830. However, none of his 4 legitimate children survived childhood, leaving him without an heir. Unhappy childhood. After the death of Victoria's father, her mother was lonely and she highly depended on John Conroy, who was a servant of Victoria's father. John Conroy, however, was bent on power. Victoria had to spend her youth following strict rules under the Kensington system. These rules included never being alone and always sleeping in the same room as her mother. John Conroy created the system to control Victoria so he could increase his power and influence and keep her dependent and loyal to Conroy and her mother. This system put him in charge of Victoria's education and upbringing, which resulted in an unhappy childhood. Imagine how you would feel if someone else had total control over what you did and you had no privacy at all. Anyone would be miserable. So guess what Victoria did when she turned 18 and acquired the throne? She marginalized her mother and banned Conroy from her court. Queen Victoria on the throne. Grandmother of Europe, the famine queen, the widow of Windsor, Queen Victoria earned all those names and more during her 63-year reign. At the beginning of her reign, Queen Victoria was heavily influenced by her husband Albert and the Prime Minister Lord Melbourne. Together with her husband, Victoria worked on modernization and political stability. Because Victoria's predecessors had badly damaged the monarchy's reputation, Queen Victoria was working hard to once again build people's trust in the monarchy, because people were protesting to replace the monarchy with a republic. Queen Victoria created a new constitutional monarchy to stop the growing Republican movement. With the help of her husband, Albert encouraged the creation of educational museums, and Victoria became the patron of 150 organizations, including numerous charities. The couple supported the armed forces by attending military reviews and making civic visits to industrial cities like Leeds. Development during Queen Victoria's reign. The era of Queen Victoria is marked by constant advances in industry and new discoveries in the sciences, such as Darwin's theories. There were several great engineering achievements around the cities like London, Birmingham, and Lancaster. The emergence of sewage systems in London, the construction of large bridges, and rapid improvement in infrastructure were also noted during this period. Technical developments were especially celebrated and promoted by Queen Victoria and her husband. As a result, rails were installed and the first train left the train station in Paddington just 2 years after Victoria became the Queen. The Industrial Revolution changed the way people lived and worked by creating new industries such as steel production or textile manufacturing. Several social reforms took place during the reign of Queen Victoria, such as legislation on child labor, safety in factories and mines, public health, the abolition of slavery in the British Empire, and educational reforms. Additionally, there was prison reform and the police were established. Philanthropic works. Ireland experienced a terrible famine known as the Great Famine that started around 1845. Potatoes were the main crops that were impacted by this calamity. Over 1 million people died in Ireland over the course of 4 traumatic years. The effects of the famine deeply troubled Queen Victoria. She made the decision to give £2,000 out of her own pocket to aid famine victims. Her contribution was the largest among all other donators. Her donation is worth more than $200,000 in today's money. Many people were inspired by this act of kindness by their queen, while there were others who believed that she actually didn't contribute any more than $6 to the country's famine relief efforts. What do you think? Do you believe that the Queen of the United Kingdom would only donate $6? Comment below. Also, if you find this video interesting, then be sure to subscribe and turn on post notifications to be updated when we post similar content. Developed good relations with France. Queen Victoria thought that Britain needed to establish friendly ties with her neighbor France. She made several trips to France where she met with important French figures like King Louis Philippe. As the first British queen to meet a French king, her visit established a record, and King Louis also made history when he traveled to Britain in 1844. The history between the two countries fueled this relationship. When the French Revolution began in the country, before her rule, it was the aim of the overthrown French monarchs to build alliances with other monarchs across Europe. Queen Victoria's objective was to re-establish the years of friendship and cooperation between her empire and France. And as the 19th century came to an end, her reign saw strong ties between France and the UK. Strategic marriages. The latest British royal wedding of Prince William and Kate Middleton had a lot of celebrity guests like David Beckham, Victoria Beckham, Elton John, and many more. But what is most impressive is that this wedding brought the Queen of Spain, the Prince of Spain, the Princess of Sweden, the former King of Greece, the former King of Romania, and many more such people under the same roof. Isn't that amazing? All these important people were invited because they are related to the great-great-great-grandmother of Prince William, Queen Victoria. Over the course of her 63-year reign, Queen Victoria carefully arranged marriages so that her descendants would become members of royal families throughout Europe. Because of strategic marriages and her immense global influence, Queen Victoria is also referred to as the Grandmother of Europe. Death of Albert. At the age of 42, Prince Albert passed away from typhoid fever. She was greatly affected by her husband's passing. Albert had been a constant source of support and guidance for Victoria, and his death left her devastated. She went into a deep mourning that lasted for many years, during which she withdrew and rarely appeared in public. Victoria's grief also had a significant impact on the country, as she was a much-loved monarch, and her absence from public life was deeply felt by the people. After Albert's death, Victoria wore black for the rest of her life as a sign of her mourning. However, despite her grief, she eventually began to gradually return to public life. She continued to perform her duties as queen, and over time she began to appear in public more frequently. Victoria's return to public life was slow and gradual, and it took many years for her to fully come out of mourning. Yet, she still remained a much-loved and respected monarch, and her return to public life was welcomed by the people of Britain. Empress of India. Queen Victoria became the Empress of India, which helped to bind the monarchy and empire together. She approved the imperialist policies of her 7th Prime Minister, Benjamin Disraeli. He was the one who advised Queen Victoria to accept the title. His policies helped Britain to become the most powerful nation in the world. Her popularity grew even further when she became the symbol of the empire. The British Empire. During Queen Victoria's reign, the British Empire grew at an explosive pace, and she ruled over more than 1/5 of the world. The expansion of the British Empire was driven by several factors, including economic, political, and strategic considerations. The empire brought wealth and resources to Britain, and it also served as a source of power and influence on the global stage. The empire was a major player in international relations, and it played a key role in shaping the world in the 19th and early 20th centuries. Although the expansion of the British Empire brought many benefits to Britain, it also had negative consequences, including exploitation and oppression of the people living in the territories that were part of the empire. So it can be said, without any doubt, that Queen Victoria played a major part in making Britain what it is today. Comment below if you think she was a great ruler or not, and if you like this video, then click on the video appearing on your screen to watch more epic history videos.